Thousands of employees let go by two tech giants, Twitter and Meta, the parent company of Facebook, over the last week. Even with the companies based in the U.S., some of the affected employees are here in Canada. Employment lawyer Alex Lucifero joins us now to talk more about those cross-border implications. So, Alex, first of all, what do Canadian employees working for one American company need to know about layoffs and terminations?
Well, I think the first and most important point, Matt, is that as Canadian employees as employees who work and reside in Canada, U.S. law, and particularly employment law, does not apply to you. You are entitled to the same protections, the same rights that all employees have in Canada, regardless of the fact that a particular employer is based in the United States, or even, Matt, works exclusively out of the U.S. So you can be in a situation where perhaps you're working from a home for a U.S. company, and there's no actual physical office in Canada. That's okay. You're still considered a Canadian employee, and let's say specifically an Ontario employee, you have the same rights, the same protections, the same entitlements, particularly when it comes to severance, that any other employee has in the circumstances.
And again, because severance is one of the big ones, and we talk about this a lot, so still protected by severance here too. Just walk us through a couple of the differences, if you can, about what it would mean for someone if, like, a Facebook employee was just let go and they worked in Toronto versus if they'd been in the States.
Yeah, that's right, and we are seeing that. Matt, so it's a relevant question. So, very briefly, employment laws in the U.S. are very, very different. I mean, there are no real severance laws in many of the states in the U.S., and that is quite different in Canada. In Canada, and this is true, of course, in Ontario, but across Canada as well, employees actually have quite significant severance entitlements, just as an automatic right. It doesn't even need to be necessarily a contractual right. Employees are owed severance regardless based on their age, position, and years of service. And you don't have to be employed with an employer for very long. You could be a relatively short service employee, and your severance entitlements may still be significant. They may still be several months long. For older, more senior employees that have been with an employer in a senior position for much longer, severance can be as high as 24 months of pay. That's 2 years of pay.
Right, and so just the difference now too, Alex, because it's an American company, if someone, because we've heard about it, experiences, some people, especially in some employees in the United States, letting go, no severance at all, and because the laws are so different, how would someone go about, and is it going to be a harder situation in order to try to go about getting that severance or getting what they're owed because that company is south of the border?
Yeah, it's a good question, Matt. So, and again, employment law is very, very different in the States. It's really not a comparator at all to a Canadian employer, specifically an Ontario employee. In Ontario, and again, generally across Canada, in order for an employer to actually pay zero as severance, to pay no severance or no notice of termination whatsoever, you effectively have to be guilty of what's called just cause for termination or cause for termination. It's effectively a very high standard of either gross misconduct or gross poor performance. You have to do something really, really terribly wrong. Matt, again, this is true in Ontario and Canada. In order to be let go with zero severance, those cases are few and far between.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And again, it can be tricky because, again, you mentioned it, we are seeing some of these situations. Alex Lucifero, appreciate your insight as always. Thank you for this, sir.
Thanks, Matt.